Alright, this is Pack 365. Myself Srija. So today you are going to learn about the blood vessels of the heart and also the physiology of the cardiovascular system. Okay, coming to blood vessels. What are blood vessels? Blood vessels are the tiny tubes that carry blood all around the body. So what they make up? They make up a closed network like a rod-like system that helps in carrying oxygen and nutrients to every cell, carrying waste and carbon dioxide away from the cells, transporting hormones and other important substances. So what are the three main types of the blood vessels? Arteries, veins, capillaries. So arteries, these are red in color, right? So these are red from the heart. So they carry oxygen-rich blood away from the heart to the body. So these arteries have thick, strong walls because the blood pressure is high. So what is the example of artery? Aorta, pulmonary artery. Through pulmonary artery carries the deoxygenated blood. So coming to capillaries, what are capillaries? These are thin network in the middle. You can see in the picture, the red color one are the arteries. The middle one, a network like thin structures are called as capillaries, and the last one, which is blue in color, is the veins. So what are capillaries? These are the smallest blood vessels which connect arteries to the veins. So this is the place of this is the exchange site. So where the oxygen and nutrients move from blood to body cells and waste move from the cells to body. So walls are 1 cell thick for easy exchange. So coming to veins, these carry oxygen poor blood back to the heart. So they have the thinner walls and valves to prevent blood from flowing backward. So what is the example of the vein? Vena cava, the pulmonary vein, which carries oxygenated blood. So as I said you in the picture, the red side shows the arteries carrying blood away from the heart or from the heart. The middle web shows capillaries where exchange of gases and nutrients happens, and the blue side, the right on the right side. So this shows the veins carrying blood back to the heart. So next, coming to anatomy of blood vessels. Now we'll learn about a clear anatomy of blood vessels, the clear layers of the vessel walls. So most large blood vessels, arteries and veins have three main layers in their walls. So these layers help them to stay strong and also flexible while carrying the blood. So what is the first layer? It's a tunica intima. It's the inner layer. You can clearly see in the picture at the right side, the artery, vein and capillary, the layers of the blood vessels. So tunica intima, it's an inner layer. Tunica media, it's a middle layer, and tunica externa is a outer layer. So this tunica intima, it is made up of cells. It is a smooth and it is made up of thin cells called as endothelium. So what is the function of this tunica intima? It gives a smooth surface for blood to flow easily without the friction. So this produces the chemicals that help to control the widening or narrowing of the vessel. That is nothing but vasodilation or vasoconstriction. So this is the innermost ring of each vessel. So coming to tunica media, it is made up of a smooth muscle and elastic fibers. These are thicker in arteries than in veins because arteries handle higher pressure. What is the function of tunica media? It helps to control the blood pressure by contracting or relaxing. So the middle colored ring, thick in arteries, thin in veins, is called as tunica media. So coming to the outer layer, which is called as tunica externa. It is also called as tunica adventitia, or it is made up of the connective tissue which gives strength and also it gives the support. So what is the function of tunica externa? It protects and anchors the blood vessel to nearby the tissues. So this is the outermost ring of the blood vessel. So capillaries, in the picture you can see the capillaries. These are the smallest blood vessels, only one thin layer of the cells. So it is made up of endothelium, the inner lining, and the basement membrane, the support layer, the outer lining. So this thin wall allows exchange of oxygen, nutrients and waste between blood and body cells. So it shows a very thin tube with just one layer. So in simple words, arteries are thick and strong, high pressure. Veins are thinner and half walls, low pressure and blood return. Capillaries are 1 cell thick for exchange. So what are the types of blood vessels? So we have already discussed about the arteries, veins, and capillaries, right? Now we are going to discuss about the brief about these arteries, capillaries, and veins. So what are arteries actually? Arteries are blood vessels that carry blood away from the heart to all parts of the body. So this blood they carry is usually oxygen rich, except in the pulmonary artery. So arteries carry the oxygen-rich blood. It carries the oxygenated blood, except the pulmonary artery, because pulmonary artery it carries the deoxygenated blood. So what are the characteristics of the arteries? So these arteries they are thick, muscular, and elastic walls. So this help them to handle the high pressure. The walls which are thick, so this help them to handle the high pressure of the blood pumped from the heart. So there are no walls present in the arteries because of the blood moves in only one direction under the high pressure. So pulse can be felt in the arteries, for example at the wrist, a radial artery or neck carotid artery, their pulse can be felt. So elastic and flexible is also a characteristic of the artery. They stretch when the heart beats and recoil between the beats. So there are types of arteries. How many types of arteries are there? Elastic arteries, muscular arteries, and also arterioles. So coming to elastic arteries, this is an example of aorta. It have more elastic fibers. So what is the function of the elastic artery? It stretch when the heart pumps. So heart pumping is nothing but the systole phase, right? So it stretch when the heart pumps, and it also recoil to maintain the blood flow when the heart relaxes during the diastole. Relaxation diastole and systole, contraction systole. So coming to muscular arteries, these are the medium-sized arteries. For example, radial artery, femoral artery. These have more smooth muscle. The function of these muscular arteries, it distributes blood to the different organs and body parts. So coming to arterioles. Arterioles, these are the smallest arteries. So what is the function of arteries? They control the amount of blood that flows into the capillaries, and it helps to regulate the blood pressure. So here you can see a picture of the arterioles. So here the red vessels which are in the picture, it show the arteries carrying blood away from the heart. So they branch into smaller arterioles, then into tiny capillaries as shown as a network in the middle, and then into the blue vessels called as veins. So these veins carry blood back towards the heart. So this is the cross section. On the right side shows the three layers of the artery wall: intima, media, and adventitia. So in simple words, arteries are nothing but they are the strong thick tubes that carry blood away from the heart under the pressure. Elastic arteries, they are the stretchy highways for the blood. Muscular arteries, they are the distributors to the organs. Arterioles, these are the traffic controllers that manage blood pressure and flow to the tissues. So next, coming to veins. So what are veins? Veins are the blood vessels that carry blood towards the heart. So most veins carry the deoxygenated blood except the pulmonary vein. So what does this pulmonary vein do? They carry the oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart. So what are the characteristics of the veins? So thinner walls and less muscle than arteries, because the blood pressure is low in veins. So they contain walls. These act like one-way doors that stop blood from flowing backward, especially in the legs, right? So they also carry the blood under low pressure. They rely on the body movement and also the muscular contractions. So these muscle contractions, they help to push the blood back to the heart. So this means they also act as a blood reservoirs. So they can hold up to 70% of the body's blood volume at the rest. So we can think of the veins as a storage tanks for blood and return paths to the heart. So there are three types of veins: deep veins, superficial veins, and venules. So deep veins, these are found in deep inside the muscles. So they carry most of the blood back to the heart. For example, femoral vein, which is present in the thigh region. And coming to superficial veins, these are located to the close to the skin surface. So what is the example? Great saphenous vein, which is present in the leg. So these are the veins that you can often see under the skin. So venules are the smallest veins that collect the blood from capillaries and they pass it into the larger veins. So they are the starting point of the venous return to the heart. In simple words, veins are the return pathways. They bring blood back to the heart. They work under also the low pressure, not only high pressure, they work under the low pressure. They have valves to keep blood flowing in the right direction. So this is about the veins. And next coming to capillaries. So what are capillaries? These are the microscopic vessels connecting arterioles to venules. So these are one cell thick wall and this is enough for the, this makes easy for substances to pass through. So they allow the exchange of oxygen, nutrients and waste between the blood and body tissues. So these capillaries, they are found in almost every tissue, especially in the lungs, muscles and kidneys where exchange is very active. So blood flow is slow in capillaries to allow time for the exchange. So you have types of capillaries. What are they? Continuous capillaries, fenestrated capillaries and also the sinusoids. These continuous capillaries, they have the tight walls with no gaps. These are found in the brain, muscles and skin. So these allow only small molecules like oxygen and glucose to pass. Whereas fenestrated capillaries, they have tiny pores or they have holes in their walls. They allow the faster exchange of the substances. So these are found especially in the kidneys, intestines and also the endocrine glands. For example, kidney capillaries, they filter blood during the urine formation. So next, sinusoids. Sinusoids are nothing but these are the discontinuous capillaries. So why they are named as discontinuous capillaries? Because they have large openings and gaps between the cells. So these allow the passage of large molecules and also even the blood cells. So the sinusoids are found in liver, spleen and also the bone marrow. For example, liver sinusoids, they help in detoxification and also the blood cell exchange. So this is about the capillaries. What you have learned about capillaries? They are the tiny bridges between the arteries and veins. So the thin walls let oxygen and nutrients move out to the body cells and waste and CO2 move into the blood. So different organs have different types depending on how much exchange they need. So this is about the blood vessels of the heart. So next coming to the physiology of the blood vessels. So blood vessels are nothing but just tubes, right? So they have important roles in transporting blood, controlling blood pressure, distributing blood, exchanging materials and also the storing blood. So these are the functions of the blood vessels. They play an important role in transporting blood like oxygen, nutrients and waste. They control the blood pressure. They distribute the blood to different organs as needed, exchanging materials between blood and body tissues and also storing blood, especially veins. Next, hemodynamics. So what do you mean by hemodynamics? It is also called as the blood flow principles. It means the study of blood flow and the forces that control it. So blood flow depends upon the pressure, resistance and also the blood pressure. So pressure created by the heart's pumping and resistance offer the blood vessels. So arteries maintain high pressure, right? While veins carry blood at low pressure back to the heart. So next, blood pressure. What is the definition? I mean, what do you mean by the blood pressure? It's the force of the blood pushing against the walls of the arteries. So this is measured as the systolic pressure when the heart contracts and also the diastolic pressure when the heart relaxes. So the normal BP is around 120 by 80 mmHg. So it is maintained mainly by arteries and arterioles. So this is about the blood pressure. And next, vasoconstriction and vasodilation. So what do you mean by vasoconstriction? Constriction is nothing but narrowing. Dilation is nothing but widening. So vaso is nothing but blood vessels. So vasoconstriction is narrowing of the blood vessels, means increasing the blood pressure. Whereas vasodilation, it's a widening of blood vessels. That is, it decreases the blood pressure. So these processes help to control blood flow and also the body temperature. For example, in cold, blood vessels constrict to conserve heat. In heat, they dilate to release the heat. And capillary exchange. So what do you mean by capillary exchange? Diffusion, filtration, and reabsorption. So this is how the substances move between blood and body tissues through the capillary walls. So diffusion. What do you mean by diffusion? It's the movement of oxygen, carbon dioxide, nutrients, and waste from high to low concentration. Whereas filtration, it's the movement of fluid out of capillaries into the tissues due to blood pressure. And reabsorption. Reabsorption is nothing but the movement of fluid back into the capillaries due to osmotic pressure of plasma proteins. So capillaries act like tiny filters. They let useful things out and brings waste back in. So venous return. It refers to the blood flow back to the heart through the veins. So since veins have the low pressure, they depend upon the muscle contractions, breathing movements, and also the walls. So this helps to keep the blood moving towards the heart. And the fifth one is regulation of the blood flow. So blood flow is adjusted based on the needs of the different organs, right? For example, more blood to muscles during exercise and less blood to the muscles due to stomach. So this is controlled by the nervous system, the hormones, and also the local factors. So this is about the physiology of the blood vessels. Now let us go for blood anatomy and description. So what is blood? Blood is a specialized fluid connective tissue that flows through the cardiovascular system. So this blood, it helps in transporting oxygen, nutrients, and hormones. It removes the carbon dioxide and also the waste products. It regulates the body temperature and also the pH. It protects the body from infections via the white blood cells. So what is the blood volume? About 5 to 6 liters in an adult. So what is the percentage of the body weight? About 7 to 8% of the body weight. So what is the composition of the blood? So blood has two major components, the plasma and the formed elements. So plasma, it covers about the 55% and formed elements, it covers about the 45%. So what are listed under the formed elements? The red blood cells, white blood cells, and the platelets. So now coming to the plasma. Plasma, it is a liquid part of the blood. Here you can see the picture. In this you can see the yellow color one, plasma. So it is a liquid part of the blood. It looks like a pale yellow fluid. So what does this plasma do? It makes up about 55% of the total blood volume. So it contains 90% of water and 10% of dissolved salts. So 90% of water means this plasma acts as a solvent and transport the medium. So 10% dissolved substances means it includes the proteins, nutrients, electrolytes, hormones, gases, and waste. So what are the characteristics of the plasma? It is pale yellow and it is slightly sticky in nature, and the function of plasma is to transport nutrients, hormones, and waste materials throughout the body. So what are the major plasma proteins? Albumin, globulins, and fibrinogen. So what do you mean by albumin? Albumin, it maintains the osmotic pressure and it helps in the fluid balance. Whereas globulins, it functions in the immunity, nothing but like antibodies. Fibrinogen, it helps in blood clotting. So at the right side, the top layer, it's a plasma, which is 55%, and the middle layer, it's a white blood cells and platelets, 1%. This is the for defense and clotting. And also the bottom layer, the red blood cells, RBC, it makes up to 45% of the blood. It carries oxygen via the hemoglobin. So this is about the major plasma proteins. Now coming to formed elements. So how much formed elements contribute? It makes up about 45% of the blood. So these are the cells and cell fragments suspended in the plasma. They include RBC, WBC, and platelets. So what are the RBC, WBC, and thrombocytes? So RBCs are the red blood cells. So these are biconcave in shape and they increases the surface area for the gases exchange. So there is no nucleus in the erythrocyte. These are absent in adults. It gives more space for the hemoglobin. So what is the major function of the RBC? It transports the oxygen and carbon dioxide. It contains the hemoglobin L colored protein that binds the oxygen and the carbon dioxide. So the key function of RBC is the gaseous transport, nothing but it carries oxygen from the lungs to the tissues and carbon dioxide from tissues to the lungs. So it is red in color due to a hemoglobin pigment. So the lifespan of RBC cells is about 120 days. So then broken down into the liver and spleen. So this is about the RBC. And next WBC. So what is WBC? These are the body defense cells. So they protect the body against the infections, foreign invaders and diseases. So unlike red blood cells, they have the nucleus and lack hemoglobin. So WBCs can move out of the blood vessels into the tissues to fight against the infection. So there are two main categories for WBC or the white blood cells. They are granulocytes and agranulocytes. So granulocytes are nothing but they have the visible granules in the cytoplasm. Agranulocytes are nothing but they do not have the no visible granules, right? So the name itself added A, granulocytes and agranulocytes. A means it indicates there is no visible granule, it's absent. So now let's talk about the two main categories of WBC, granulocytes and agranulocytes. I have said here granulocytes have visible granules, agranular cells have no visible granules. So coming to the types of granulocytes. So what are the types of granulocytes? Neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils and agranulocytes. So neutrophils. So these are the most abundant WBC cell. They contribute about 60 to 70% of total. So what is the function of the neutrophil? It fights the bacterial infections and it engulfs the bacteria called phagocytosis. So what is the lifespan of granulocytes? It is short, it lives only for a few days. And whereas in eosinophils, they fight against the parasites like worms. So these are also active in the allergic reactions. It reduces the inflammation caused by the allergies. So coming to basophils, this releases the histamine and it causes the inflammation and allergic response. It also releases the heparin which prevents blood clotting inside the vessels. So this is about the granulocyte cells. Here you can see the picture of the granulocyte cells over here. This is plasma, this is RBC erythrocytes, and this is platelets, thrombocytes, and this is types of the white blood cells, neutrophil, eosinophil, basophil, lymphocyte, and the monocyte. So next coming to agranulocytes. So what are agranulocytes? These are the type of blood cells. So agranulocytes, they do not have the visible granules in their cytoplasm. They include the lymphocyte and the monocyte, both important in immunity and defense. So these lymphocytes, there are the main cells responsible for the immunity. So they are found in blood, lymph nodes and also the spleen. There are three types of the lymphocytes again. T cells, B cells and NK cells, nothing but the natural killer cells. So next about the monocytes. So monocytes, these are the largest WBCs in the size. So they move blood into tissues where they become the macrophages. So what is the function of the monocyte? It engulfs and digests the pathogens, foreign substances and the dead cells. So it also helps to activate the lymphocytes for further immune defense. So what is the function of the agranulocyte? It protects against the infection, destroy the foreign substances, it produces the antibodies and it removes the dead or damaged cells. So what are platelets? So platelets are nothing but they are not full cells. They are small cell fragments. They are produced from the large bone marrow cells called as megakaryocytes. So these platelets they circulate in the blood for about 7 to 10 days. So what are the functions of the platelets? These are the essential for blood clotting, hemostasis. They form a platelet plug when a blood vessel is injured. So first step in the clot formation. So releasing clotting factors that convert fibrinogen, fibrin and fibrin clot to stop the bleeding. And this is about the agranulocytes and granulocytes. So next coming to the functions of blood. So what are the functions of blood and what are the blood types? So blood performs three main functions: the transport function, regulation, and the protection. So in transport function, the blood acts as a main transport system of the body. They carries the oxygen O2 from lungs to tissues, and they carries the carbon dioxide CO2 from tissues to lungs. They transport the nutrients from the digestive tract to cells. They also carry the hormones from endocrine glands to target the organs, and transports metabolic waste to kidneys, lungs, and skin for the excretion. So what is the function of the regulation in the blood? So blood helps to maintain the body temperature. It also helps to maintain the pH balance, and it also helps to maintain the water balance. And then protection. Protection, it blood protects the body by WBC that defend against the infections and foreign substances. The platelets and clotting factors also protect us for, to prevent the blood loss after injury, and also the antibodies and complement proteins to provide the immunity. So coming to blood types, blood type is determined by the antigens present on the surface of the RBC and antibodies in the plasma. So there are four types of blood groups: A, B, AB, and O. So these have the plasma antibodies like anti-B for A blood group, anti-A for B blood group, and none of the plasma antibody for AB, and anti-A and anti-B both for O positive. So next, coming to RH factor. RH is nothing but resist system. So it is based on the presence of the D antigen and RBCs. So RH positive has D antigen, RH negative has no D antigen. So this RH factor, it plays an important role in pregnancy and also the blood transfusions. For example, RH negative mother with RH positive baby, it's a risk of hemolytic disease of the newborn. So this is about the blood types. In the right side, you can clearly see the picture of the type A, type B, type AB, type O blood groups. In type A, and plasma antibodies are present. In type B, plasma antibodies are present. C also present. D, it is not present. It has anti-A and anti-B, both. So next, hemopoiesis. So what do you mean by hemopoiesis? It's a blood cell formation. So it occurs in the red bone marrow, mainly in the long bones, ribs, sternum, and pelvis. So stem cells, they allow the blood cells to originate from the hematopoietic stem cells. So what is the regulation? It is controlled by the erythropoietin EPO, a hormone from the kidneys that stimulates the RBC production when oxygen levels are low. So this is about the hemopoiesis. So hemopoiesis is nothing but a formation of the blood cells in the bone marrow. So this is about today's session, guys. In the next session, you are going to learn about the physiology of the cardiovascular system. You are going to learn about the circulation pathways, the cardiac cycle, and also the cardiac output. Thank you.